Hello and welcome to Unity Voices podcast. And today we will have our final episode of this year. So I want to share my story and the story of Unity Voices project. My name is Olha Plyushch. I'm Ukrainian and it is my superpower. I was born in Chernihiv and today I woke up to the news that Russia again and again keeps attacking my hometown and cities all over Ukraine. So during this festive period, while so many people are getting ready to Christmas holidays, buying Christmas presents, get together with their family and friends, I just want to remind you that there are millions of Ukrainians affected by Russian aggression and war in Ukraine. There are millions of children who suffered from war. And I just want to ask you, please don't forget about those who are in need, and please be generous with your donations to different organizations that support Ukraine, Ukrainian military, Ukrainian hospitals, Ukrainian children, because it's really vital. This winter is very hot due to ongoing blackouts. My whole family is in different parts of Ukraine, like Chernihiv, Kiev, Dnipro region, and they face blackouts for hours. It's where they don't have electricity, no water, no heating. They can't eat warm food. They can't drink warm tea or even coffee. So things that most people take for granted is vital for many Ukrainians. So please keep supporting Ukraine. I'm a historian. I studied history in Taras Shevchenko University, and I want to tell you that Russian aggression against Ukrainian nation has been going on for centuries, at least for 300 years. And today I want to share with you about Baturin. It was a capital of Hetmanat, and it is Chernihiv region. As a historian, I even went there to archaeological practice many years ago. But what I want to share you is that there is one day in our history, November 2nd, 1708. It's when Ukrainians in Baturin, there were like 20,000 people living in Baturin, were bloody murdered by Russians. Just within one day, they killed over 20,000 people from newborn to elderly. And since then, Ukrainian language was forbidden for over 130 times. It means that Russia knows the power of language and they tried to erase Ukrainian language, Ukrainian literature, Ukrainian identity, Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian traditions, Ukrainian nation for centuries. So the war and aggression that we have today in Ukraine, it's like continuing process for decades and centuries. This is crucial to understand that full-scale invasion started in 2022, but Ukrainians are fighting for their identity for centuries. I was a victim of Russian propaganda myself. When I studied in university, I remember that it was not cool to speak Ukrainian. And everyone who was speaking Ukrainian, they were considered like people from village. But we have to remember that only thanks to villages, Ukrainian villages, we still have our Ukrainian language, our Ukrainian traditions. And soon you will see a lot of Christmas, beautiful Ukrainian traditions, Ukrainian Christmas dishes, the way of Ukrainian celebration of Christmas, and beautiful Ukrainian Christmas carols. But we have to remember that during many years under Soviet Union occupation, a lot of these traditions were forbidden. And recently, last month, it was another memorizing anniversary of tragedy in Ukrainian history, Holodomor. It is man-made famine, which killed over 10 million Ukrainians when they were starved to death. And in our culture, in our DNA, in our memory, consciously or unconsciously, we still have this trauma that affects still many generations. And it's really important to remember that a lot of traditions like making diduch was forbidden, and many people who survived Holodomor, it's like silent generation. They didn't talk about it. But now in Ukraine and in Ukrainian communities beyond Ukraine, we are restoring these traditions, and it's very important to give a new life and to continue with our culture and with our identity. For me as a Ukrainian, it's really important to raise awareness and help to understand for non-Ukrainians to understand better Ukraine and Ukrainian people. Was the main idea to create Unity Voices podcast, so I could share stories of Ukrainian people and for them to share from their perspective with their recommendations of books to read to understand Ukrainians better. Also, for me, it was important to remind Ukrainians about the power of our unity, because I do believe that unity is our superpower. On February 24th, 2022, we all saw that power when all Ukrainians were united in that fight against Russian aggression. Unfortunately, due to massive Russian propaganda, and Russia spends billions of dollars in its propaganda, which affects not just Ukrainians but people all around the world. Now we can see the consequences of this propaganda, and a lot of people becoming not united in Ukraine as well. And Russia uses our red buttons for us to fight with each other. Different reasons, and the main reasons is language. Then it's about Ukrainians who stayed in Ukraine and Ukrainians who had to flee Ukraine, Ukrainians who joined armed forces, and those who haven't joined armed forces, who are volunteering and who are not volunteering. Russia used everything against Ukrainians. And I think it's important more than ever to remind ourselves about unity and about strengths of unity, that we are stronger when we are united. So today I just want to encourage everyone to support Ukraine, whatever you can, with your donation, with your post, with your repost, with talking to someone who doesn't know something about Ukraine, and you can share this information. We need support of people all over the world, because Ukraine is fighting a big enemy who is spending 60% of their budget for next year for militarization. And it tells us that Russia is not going to stop the war. They will just prepare better for this war. And during all these peace talks, I just want to remind everyone that for Ukraine, occupation is not a peace. For Ukraine, occupation is another form of genocide. There are over 1,600,000 children on occupied territories of Ukraine, and there are over 20,000 children have been abducted by Russia. What they do, they brainwash them, they teach them how to hate Ukraine and Ukrainians, they lie to them about history, they tell them that it was Ukraine who started the war and it was Russia who saved them, and they send Ukrainian children from very young age to military camps for them to be prepared to fight against Ukraine and maybe further. So Ukraine is not just about Ukrainian land and Ukrainian territories. It's about people. It's about Ukrainian people, and it's about our identity, and it's about our language, Ukrainian language, and our history and our traditions. I also want to share with you stories that had a huge impact on me, and it's stories from children who were back from Russia back to Ukraine. And all of them are sharing the same memories, how they were bullied for being Ukrainian, how they were forced to sing a Russian anthem, and how they were brainwashed to hate Ukraine and Ukrainians. And it's very important to remember that Russian aggression started in 2014. So there is already a generation of children who grew up under this propaganda and who was sent by Russia to frontline fight against Ukraine and Ukrainians. And it is another form of genocide of Ukrainian nation. I also want to raise awareness about those who keep remaining in Russian captivity. I had an honor to talk to some of those Ukrainian soldiers who were in Russian captivity, and all of them also shared the same memories about how brutal and cruel Russian captivity is. And looking at the photos of those who were in Russian captivities, these photos really remind me photos from Holodomor. So Russia is using starvation as a weapon again against Ukrainian nation. And it is against Geneva Convention, and it is against any human rights. So peace for Ukraine is not possible without all prisoners of war being brought back to Ukraine. Peace for Ukraine is not possible without all abducted children being brought back to Ukraine. Peace for Ukraine is not possible while Russia keeps occupying Ukrainian territories and keeps killing, torturing, raping Ukrainian people. Ukraine is living not just during ongoing blackouts, but during ongoing funerals, because Russia keeps killing Ukrainians every single day. Russia keeps attacking and bombing Ukrainian cities, civilians, every single day. Russia destroys houses, schools, libraries, universities, hospitals, energy facilities, and it's pure terror. You can't make peace negotiations with terrorists. The only way to stop Russia is to show strength. Only united countries with strength can stop Russia and stop Russian aggression against Ukraine and against its further escalation. Unity is also about European countries. We need this unity to support Ukraine and to stop Russia, stop Russian war, and stop Russian aggression against Ukraine and Ukrainian nation. Russia knows the power of its culture, and they use their culture on worldwide stages. I don't remember Nazi members being represented on world stages. So why Russian artists still given world stages to brainwash and whitewashing Russian aggression? This month, Netrebko is coming back to Royal Opera House, and it's a shame. It's a big shame for Royal Opera House for giving stage for Putin's diva. She was supporting occupation of Donbas region, and she is a Russian citizen. So it is important to understand that every ticket you buy, the profit from the ticket goes paying taxes to Russia, and Russian taxes are used for weapons to kill Ukrainians. There should be no stage for Russian artists because it is another way of Russian propaganda, of Russian brainwashing and Russian whitewashing. It is another way we can be united all over the world to prevent participation of Russian artists on the world stages. So please come and support rallies by Support Ukraine every Wednesday and every Sunday. They have been doing that since 2014. It is very important to keep our voices loud, to remind the world about Ukraine and to remind the world about Russian aggression and consequences of it. And please don't forget about Ukrainian armed forces. These are very hard times for that. So please don't forget to support them while we are in our warm homes under safe sky. They are in cold trenches, wounded and under constant attack by Russia's military. We need to be united in support for them, because without our support and our help, it will be really hard for them to win this war. In our unity, in our help, in our support, together we will win. On February 24th, 2022, I have realized that all generations in my family have been through war. First World War, Second World War, now a full-scale invasion. I remember when we were crossing the bridge in Kiev from left bank to right bank. In the car, it was me, my daughter, my mom, my sister, and my dog. And it was the first time my dog started to cry. And it was the first time I have realized that all women in my family, in all generations, have been through war. As a Ukrainian nation, we have suffered from Russia for decades and centuries of deportations, relocations, evacuations. Russia is going to continue Siberization of Ukrainians from occupied territories. It means that Ukrainians will be sent to Siberia again and live in severe, difficult conditions, far away from their homeland, far away from their family members, and far away from Ukraine. Russia keeps committing the same crimes against Ukrainian nation over and over again, year after year, decades after decades, centuries after centuries. And it's time to stop it. It's time to be united against this Russian aggression and to show strength. Only through strong Ukraine, just peace is possible. But without support of all European countries, without our unity, without our strength and willingness to show this strength to Russia, it won't be possible. So please support Ukraine, stand with Ukraine. Let's be united, because unity is our superpower. It's crucial not just to stop Russia, but it is also important to understand that Ukraine needs rebuilding, because Russia destroyed thousands of homes, thousands of schools, thousands of libraries, hospitals, universities. And these reconstructions and this support Ukraine needs now, because there are still million Ukrainians living in Ukraine and millions of children who needs to study, who needs to learn and to go to universities. And we need to remember that every support matters. We need to remember that instead of buying a cup of coffee or another unnecessary clothes, maybe it's better to donate and support Ukraine, and it can make a big difference for someone. During these dark times, you always can see people with their light inside. And we need these people more than ever. We need this light more than ever. And I do believe that there are millions of people with their strengths, with their light, love, and care. And I do believe that love and care can save this world, because indifference is killing. I believe that showing indifference is supporting the crimes against Ukraine. So please don't be indifferent. Don't ignore what is happening in Ukraine. There was research that showed that genocides, civil wars were happening because of indifference. Because there were people who knew what is happening but didn't do anything, who remained silent. And this is unity voices. So I urge you, I encourage you to use your voice for those who can't speak for themselves. Use your voice to raise awareness and to show your support. This is Unity Voices, and unity is our superpower. Thank you for all your support, and see you next year.